Hi, Sean here again. We're into Module 9, which is all about the prospect qualification process. Now, not every sales process actually requires a step, but if you are selling something that requires an active input from a salesperson, then pre-qualification is very powerful and time efficient. Without the qualification process in place, what often happens is that you go through your sales process and your prospect then comes back to you and says, well, I need to sleep on it. I need to check with somebody else. It's too expensive, whatever. There'll be objections being raised. This is a 9-step process and requires you to customize the content of the steps to suit you and your business. Most importantly, it requires consistency in execution. Without consistency, you can never be sure if the process is actually working for you or not, and where improvements need to be made in the process. In terms of framing the qualification process, there are two broad concepts that need to be beared in mind throughout. The first one is about taking control. In terms of your own disc profile and your behavioral tendencies, this could be either difficult or easy for you. And also depending on your prospects, it could be a challenge for you or not a challenge for you. What control really means is that you're controlling the content that is to be discussed. You're controlling the time allocated, and you're building a relationship that you are the knowledgeable authority that can be trusted. An effective analogy that I like to relate to in terms of this is an army going to war, or even a sports team going to win a major tournament. In both cases, strong leadership is required. No matter how opinionated, dominated, or meek-mild the troops or team are, they all respect and trust the wisdom and the direction of the input from the leader. In the sales world, you are the leader, you are the guide, and you are the knowledge and the key to their desires. The second part is around the mindset. And we're needing to build a strong desire for the product or service that you're offering. Unless you deliberately control this process, you can never be sure of what the true needs are of the prospect. And although we are not digging into the needs analysis deeply at this stage, what we do want to do is to create the right atmosphere so that during the consultative sales process, which comes next, they are prepared and willing and committed to delve into their needs. After all, we don't really want to be chasing them. We'd rather change that around so they tend to be chasing us more than us chasing them. This graph here, I don't know if you've seen anything similar to this before, but it does illustrate the prospect journey in terms of their desire for whatever it is that you want. You may have also heard that most human beings, the majority of us, we make up our buying decisions based on the logic of weighing up the pros and cons of who or where or how we're going to buy it. But the final decision of where we ultimately make that decision, it's always an emotional level. And that emotional level, the trigger for that is reaching some type of pain point or a need. And that need or that pain point is at a particular threshold, and the prospect is always at a different threshold at any one point. Where are they on this journey? For the assumption of your prospect, you need to assume that they're always at the left-hand side of this curve, that they haven't quite acknowledged it. Even if their words are saying, look, they're ready to buy, still go through this process to make sure that it's coming out of their heads and their minds, where exactly they are on this graph. This next slide illustrates to you in terms of the product that you're selling. Every product has a different amount of complexity. Every product has a different a cycle length in terms of its sales process, and the effort required is obviously going up the more complex and the length of the sales process is. So like in the PDF, I'll give an illustration there. If you're selling a Coca-Cola and really all you need to have is a vending machine somewhere close to where people are thirsty, they put their dollar coin in, they get out comes a Coke. But if you're selling an aeroplane, something that is quite expensive, that process is likely to be very long. They'll want demonstration flights. You'll have to involve a whole lot of different stakeholders. You probably have to go through some tendering process, and it goes on and on and on. For the majority of the people taking part in this program, you're likely to be having somewhere between 2 and 3 steps, maybe a couple more if necessary, in terms of a prospect winning over to finally be a customer. And that's where we're going to be obviously focusing our efforts. In the process, we've got 9 critical qualification steps, and I'm going to go through them individually. 1 is building rapport, 2 is why now, 3 is an overview, 4 is best case scenario, 5 is the reality, 6 is possible solutions, 7 timing, 8 is a summary, and 9 is we need to determine if we've got a marriage on the go with them. Are they likely to become a customer or not? So with building up rapport, we really want to establish this in 1 to 2 minutes. You obviously have to be careful about being superficial. Assuming that you've been in the sales game for a period of time, this probably comes quite naturally to you. My general advice is just to ask some general background questions about how they're getting on, a topical item if you know that they're likely to have some interest in it. So you don't have to go too deep. Don't make it sound artificial, that's for sure. The second step is the why now. This is really important and is usually missed out by most people during the sales process. What we're wanting to do is we're wanting them to start acknowledging any possible pain points. Because the report, your rapport with them is still relatively new and fragile, they may not have opened up. They may not give you the right answer now, or they may bluff you. But from my experience, most of them open up immediately and they'll tell you exactly how it is in terms of if this is a good time for them to be dealing with your product or your service. The motive of this question is to really build acknowledgement about the need, and for us to get them to express it rather than us telling them that this is what you're needing right now. The step number 3, this is often the step that's most difficult to control. Ideally, it should be taking 2 to 3 minutes, and it's really a snapshot from them about the situation in relation to the overall overview of where they are. If you don't control the step, then they tend to go waffling off for ages, and it's quite a dangerous situation for you. What often happens is that you can actually lose the whole process during this. They almost talk them out of the problem, talk them out of the solution, and you have no control. They have complete control. So really how you phrase the question, and there's some guidelines that in the PDF in terms of how you can direct it and make it quite clear that it's a brief overview of you looking. So you've got a broad understanding of their solution. Of their setup. They needing to know that you understand the basics about their situation for you to move forward. Step 4, best case. Here we really want to jump into a positive mindset, and you have to help them draw out what is the future ideal state. If necessary, you can build up a little bit of aspiration if they happen to be a little bit downtrodden or negative. But what is the best possible outcome for the future in relation to what you're offering? Again, limit this to 1 to 2 minutes. Step 5 is the reality. Here we don't really want to delve into the past problems or challenges they may have had. Those were in the past. What we're wanting to really draw out are some of the potential roadblocks or challenges they're going to encounter in the future that's in relation to your product or service. You can start your questioning fairly general, and if you don't go down a path that is related to what you offer, then simply rephrase your question so it does. Again, we want to get answers and foresights out of their lips, not yours. If you say the problem, then they don't take ownership from it, and they also don't take ownership for the implementation of the solution or even buying into your solution. So really important that they are expressing it from themselves, and they don't see it, that you are telling them what the reality is. Step 6 is possible solutions, and again we want to stay very brief here, and we're staying with the same mindset. What are the possible solutions that they see would work for them? And then for you to make an assessment, are any of these solutions what you offer? If yes, then you can delve a little bit deeper and you can ask them some deeper questions, such as what's the impact that this solution would have on them personally or their family or the business. If it looks like there's no fit between what they're looking for, a solution, and you believe you do have a solution, then you need to probe with some questions, pointing them in that direction, so that it has to come out of their mind, their lips, in terms of your solution. If it generally looks like there's no fit, right at this point, you can probably tell them it looks like there is no fit, and you can maybe steer them in the right direction of where they can find it. Step 7 is, again, we're starting to do the recapping process. We want to acknowledge again why now is the right time for the solution, as well as to understand what is their buying process. In terms of the pre-scripting questions that you'll find in the PDFs, these need to be fairly short and unambiguous. They need to be very clear so that they can't misinterpret them in any way. But when they reply, be prepared to delve deeper if necessary. Timing is very important, because if they start coming back to you with stumbling blocks at some points in terms of roadblocks, you really want to go back to some of the words that they use and remind them of their commitment in terms of this timing. Step 8 is a summary. Here we want to summarize what they have told you. For you, it may sound like you're going through the really obvious, but you'll find when you're giving the summary back to your prospect, it's almost like they have an aha moment and they'll think, oh, that's ingenious. Where did you come up from that, even though it came out of their own mouths? So in the summary process, we're trying to, I need to urge you to try and use as many of the same words and phrases that they've used. In sales terminology, this is referred to as mirroring, and in sales, it is really, really important, extremely effective. 90% of the qualification process is you controlling the process, and them speaking and telling you the cold, hard facts out of their minds and their mouths. They need to take ownership of the reality, and if successful, to acknowledge that you have the solution for them. Again, I just have to really emphasize this. The whole process of the qualification is you taking control of the process and you getting them to express the need and the desire for your product. And the last step is a marriage. Do you have a marriage on the go? Do we move on to the next step? So during the whole prospecting conversation or call, however you're going to do it, it's really about a courtship. So far, you have had a few opportunities to decide if the prospect is a good fit for you or not. And now is a final opportunity to acknowledge it. You need to tell them either the fit looks good or the fit looks bad. And you can remind them that, again, this is outlined in the PDF. You can remind them at this point that right in the beginning of the conversation, you told them that if the fit was good, you would propose a solution, and that solution would be the next step, which is going through your product and your service offering, which would be done in a separate call or a separate meeting. And if the fit is not good, then what you'd like to do is either direct them to some self-help. So depending what you're doing is in your service offering, is there something that you can link to your website or some information, or can you email them something, or can you even give them a referral of where they should go to find the solution? So that's the prospect process. The value on this is really delving into that PDF and completing it. And then during our coaching session, we'll spend some more time analyzing that and getting it right. Thank you.